Go in there in the morning, and they'd sit in the lobby there by the dining room and fold your papers before you walked out. And a lot of mornings, Mrs. Harrington would give you a nice hot bowl of mush and a glass of milk before you got out into the cold. Then after the Mullen House closed, Mrs. O'Donnell, the house is still there, the papers were dropped there. And you used to drop the papers. You ever see the way they were wrapped with a piece of twine?
No, never did.
Well, she used to keep the twine. It wasn't a sisal or a hemp. It was just like it wasn't like real rope, but it's kind of white colored, you know, to tie up the bundles, and each one had a wrapper paper around it. She saved that. You know, one time she had a ball of cordage that big around, but she saved out the paper because everybody's drop was right there. They paid her so much to let her drop. Then they gave her the paper free, you know, all the times. But you would not believe. Now Jimmy Hanley, whose mother was one of the Harringtons, her and her husband and Jimmy's sister and him and his brother were raised in a living part of the Mullen House, in the back part of the Mullen House. There was living quarters back there. There was 3 or 4 different families. There was Melgies lived back there. There was Hanleys lived there. There was different families. It was family part of the back part of the Mullen House was a family dwellings back there.
Well, now, how did you get the work moving the cows for Mrs. Harrington? How'd that come?
You just asked her, you know, we were always over there. You were always in the yard, you know, playing in the yard. And Chris Reagan, he was the cowherd. But if he didn't, you know, if you didn't do nothing wrong or anything or leave the gates open, they didn't mind, as long as you didn't get hurt. They used to kick the cows. He used to take the cows up. Go right past here, over the hill, out to the reservoir. But he got old, you know. And then, I guess one time, we used to tag along sometimes. See? And he must have told Mrs. Harrington because she said, would you boys like to take the cows out and bring them back? And we said, sure.
And then how would she pay you for doing
$1 a week.
$1 a week. And you did it every day?
7 days a week.
Just during the summer?
Just, yeah, they were stayed in once the fall came, they stayed in the barn order.
Yeah.
And Chris took care of it. He did all the milking. As a matter of fact, that's where we first saw the rainbow. Did you ever see the rainbow on a nutter?
No.
Well, you learn the hard way. You lean over to look at it and you grab one of the tits and give you that hot milk right in the face. That's where you saw the rainbow on the udder. But did you ever drink milk right out of it?
No.
I did it a lot of times.
Well, now, when did you start working for the Western Union?
Well, I started when I was 14 years old, peddling handbills, unloading boxcars down on the railroad side and down there at the Northern Pacific Depot. Handbills for monkey wards, and mostly the handbills were all monkey wards. That was a big store here then. You go down there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you'd unload half the boxcar, and then they'd feed you in the diner there. While we were getting fed, then they'd have the trucks take the wires up to the back of the monkey wards, which is right on Park Street, right where what the Standard Furniture is now. That was where monkey wards was. Well, then when they come back, we'd load the rest, but they'd feed us. I'll never forget, we went in there and we had, boy, it was scrambled eggs and toast and milk. And I didn't know what the meat was, but it tasted pretty good. We were back working, and I asked the one guy, I said, what the heck was that we ate? He said, calf's brain.
Now, this was Western Union that was hiring you to do this?
Yeah. They used to take the contracts to do all this. So then they'd send you out, then monkey wards and hire the Western Union. We weren't riding bikes. We were what they called, we were proteges to be Western Union messengers, let's put it that way. You had to go around in the neighborhood with the bag just like the newspaper, but you had flyers, you know, and you put them in the mailboxes, and that's where I learned to fold papers with them. Right across from Hennessy's, where that office supply is now, right next door to it before they had a bar there, it was an open, empty building. And then MJB Coffee would come in, or Hills Brother Coffee would come in, they had them small cans of coffee about that big. And they'd give you a Western Union uniform, and you went around the neighborhoods and you gave samples. So there was Jack Sweet, and Bill Sweet, and me, and Lloyd Ray High, and Bobby Quick, Jack Downey. There was a whole crew of us. They each had a section of town to go to. We were at the north side because we were from north side. Well, the thing is, a lot of the houses that didn't have nobody in them, there's no sense of leaving coffee in a house that nobody's in it. So, right here. Or my Uncle John, or my Aunt Eva, or my Aunt Marie, or next door neighbors. You always get, everybody had lots of coffee. By the time you, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're way over on the west side there with a load of them. They'd get pretty heavy, so you walk down an alley where there wasn't too busy. And you remember the sewer drains? Open them up and get rid of them flyers down them sewers.
So when did you start being an official Western Union person?
Let's see, I don't.
How long did you do
You had to be
it?
16.
Oh,
That's when I got my first Social Security when I went to work. 40 hours a week, 30 cents an hour. $12 a week is what we made. I started out afternoon shift. I was still going to high school then. Afternoon shift, 3 to 11. You ought to be riding a bike out on the flat and it's pitch dark at 10 o'clock at night with just a little light on the bicycle and a bell. But
so where you, how, you would pick up the messages someplace, where would
right
you?
there, right at the Western Union, right where, right now is where you turn to go east on Broadway. There was, right before you get the alley to go down by the City Hall,
Okay.
or the jail, you know, the old jail, the old City Hall, right next there, that was the Western Union building. And then there was a bar right next to that. And then on the corner was Hunter's Drugstore. They used to sell cigarettes, cigars, everything in the drugstore. Package of Avalons was a dime. Package of Chesterfield was 15 cents. We had Frank Hughes, who they call the Tougher. He was the boss. He was the head guy. He tried to quit smoking. You'd be out in the back, you know, and everybody had cigarettes. He'd say, "Can I have a cigarette, John?" "Sure, Mr. Hughes." And he'd give a cigarette. About the third time of the day, he'd bum you, he'd give you 15 cents. That's a new pack of cigarettes. Why he didn't go back over the street? No, he was trying to quit. But he was, and then George Mitchell was the dispatcher on day shift. He was the one that telegrams come in on a teletype and he'd put them on the paper, you know. We all wore hats. We wore leather leggings so the dogs couldn't bite you. We had regular uniforms, shirts. Wintertime we had lammers, everything. But you put your hats on the counter facing George Mitchell, the operator. And he'd get a route and he'd push the buzzer and whatever, you knew whose hat was first. You went in and you got the, he'd hand you the telegrams and you put them in your folder and put them in your pocket and take off. Fast as you could go to get back again. You got paid 30 cents, 40 cents an hour, 30 cents an hour, 40 hours a week. We worked just 5 days. There was no Western Union on Saturday or Sundays. But when you got old enough to be 16 is when somebody quit and went to a different job. That's when and that's when I quit school and become a Western Union missionary.
Oh, did you quit high school? So in your sophomore year?
I knew it all.
So you started working when you were 16 and that was it?
Yeah.
And so then, would they give you tips? Would the customers give you tips?
The best tippers were at 45 East Mercury, from the Green Gates of Education on one end to the Green Gates of Education on the other end.
Now,
The girls on the line.
So they would get a lot of telegrams?
Oh, Denny the Bob Sullivan, who lived in the Malt House, was standing there on the corner talking to me and my dad one time. I was a Western Union messenger then. Sundom Sullivan, who was the guard on the gate in the daytime on this end, by west end, by the down the alley behind the Butte Daily Post, him and my dad were great friends. First time I ever went down there, he'd ask you what your name was, you know. I said, John Shea. Who? Tim. What Tim? Tim the twin. Oh, I know the man well, he says. Leave the bicycle right there. Don't tarry. That's what he used to tell you. But you'd go down there, and they had lots of tellers. They sent lots of money orders. I could tell you 6 or 7 of the ladies down there were putting kids through school. You go in there and get a money order, they'd always flip you a silver dollar. Tell you, take it out and trade when you're old enough. The thing is, you know, they were, to us, they were nice people. They never, you know, they were real nice, and they always give you a tip. Some days you made more tips than you made in wages, you know. But, boy, you didn't want to fool around in there. I mean, boy, that Sullivan had a foot on him about that. He must have been a size 16 shoe.
So he made sure you were in and out of there fast.
You bet. I come out one day and he let me take the bike in, because I had to go to Dumas. That was halfway down, you know. I come out, I got no bicycle. What the heck happened to the bike? So I was standing out the gate, you know, and I thought it was out there, and he said to me, it's down at the restaurant. They had a cafe right inside there, you know. So I go down, there's my bike, and I kind of looked at the lady who was inside there, and she kind of smiled, and I got on the bike, and she said, wait a minute. And I said, what's that? She said, that your bicycle? I said, yes, ma'am. And I said, you just cost me money. She said, what do you make an hour? I said, 30 cents an hour. She flipped me a silver dollar. She said, you're 2 hours ahead.
Well, what was the